Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything rolls around £50,000. My name's Sitch.
And my name is James.
Get the beers in, Paul, as we say each and every week.
Where is he now? I've not looked. Is he like fifth I found, isn't he?
I'm not looking anymore. It's still £50,000, James. Sky Fantasy Football, another week. We are in the middle of a match week. We've got obviously Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool, Wolves this evening, and all the FA Cup permutations and combinations that they're throwing up for fixtures. So a fair amount to get through this week. We've got a bit about our teams, what happened on the weekend, upcoming captaincy, changes in the fixture schedule, and we'll get onto some questions on Twitter as well. How was your weekend? Yeah, weekend. In terms of Sky.
We beat Chelsea. It was all right. In terms of Sky, wow. I suppose in terms of well, no, it's shit. It's 55 points. I'm trying to find some positives. No, not really. I suppose the double Arsenal clean sheets, Saliba and Zinchenko, excuse me, all in captaincy Saturday. I didn't captain Harry on Sunday, though I do own. And everybody probably knows if they listened last week who I captained on Sunday. And I've got to be honest, it didn't even register in my brain till about 3 hours after the game that I'd captained Thiago Silva.
Wow, okay. I was going to say,
literally, I didn't even think at the time. I've captained that bastard in Sky. It probably says a lot for my my Sky season at the moment. Yes, I bought Thiago Silva on Sunday. And yeah, it is what it is, right? I obviously captained over Harry because I really fancied them to come and do a number on us. And maybe if he'd stayed on the pitch, maybe they would have. Maybe it would have transpired differently. So yeah, that's another one to go in the Hall of Fame of clusterfucks this season. But it's one of them when it happens, and it happens to nearly everybody at some point during the season. You buy a player and they get injured or get suspended straight, or something happens beyond your control. You buy a player and suddenly, they've started 20 games in a row and suddenly they're out of the team. This is one of them, right? It's just completely out of your control.
Yeah,
it's nothing you can do. What I thought is, what am I going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
Simple
That's
as
exactly the right attitude. How many points have you got overall now, James? Do you know?
Do I want to know? I've actually gone up a little bit recently, up to 2,325 now.
1,000 points behind me.
Kind of chipping away. I had a decent week the week before. How many points you on?
1,266.
I am on 2012.
Sorry, points. Oh, that's my rank. Sorry. My rank is 1,266. 2,044. So 30 something points.
Is that it? How many transfers you got left?
More than you.
I know that.
More than 25, less than 30.
So you don't really know why you're playing that game because you ain't finishing first, mate.
I am 29 at the moment as it stands, but that'll be a couple less later. You below 20 now?
That's my goal for the rest of the season, right? I got 12 less transfers than you. I'm 30 points behind you. How am I going to finish above you?
Yes, it's a decent challenge. Obviously, the thing is,
the first thing I'd recommend is if you look at this week's fixtures, I would probably steam into Everton defensive tonight if I was you, Serge.
Oh, I don't know about that. Let's talk about that in a second. On Thiago Silva, it's ligament damage is the news that's come out of Chelsea.
Yeah, about 6 weeks. So he's a definite sell.
Right.
There's
okay,
because
when I saw the news, it was ligament damage, unknown return. But you think 6 weeks?
They're actually quite pleased with that news. They thought it could have been
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
disappointment. He was a potential one that would have covered off a captaincy option. Were we thinking, is it the Everton home game that you was...
Yeah, Saturday the 18th of March, which we've got more confirmed fixtures for that day following the cup games last night.
None of them are helpful.
Well, no, one of them is.
Oh, Brentford game. Brentford Leicester.
Yeah,
yes.
Brentford. I mean, currently there's now 4 games for Saturday the 18th of March, of which I have no ownership. But with Brentford and Leicester now going in now, David Raya in theory covers it off. So
he was there for me already, coming in on Monday anyway. So
I mean, even more reason if you weren't thinking of buying Brentford on Monday, I mean, there is monster gains. I think I'm just looking on a couple of teams. I think they've got like a 5-for-1. Brentford. So you must be a couple of teams. I'm just looking through the fixtures. So West Ham's an example. I realise you don't play that. Probably no one's got West Ham players, but yeah, West Ham play Villa Sunday the 12th. From the point that Brentford play Fulham Monday the 6th, Brentford play 5 games before West Ham then play their second game. There's huge gains there. We're not suggesting that people dive in and go, I'm going to get 5 or 6 Brentford players. It's not quite one of those scenarios, but there's probably more of a case now to say, do you want to go and get more than one?
Yeah,
because I think, for example, like Raya, probably other than for people who've got Kepa, Raya's going to be really, really popular. Even if it's a case that people then get to kind of Sunday the 2nd and move him on to, say, Nick Pope the next day or something like that. He's going to be really popular, I think. So one way to obviously get yourself ahead of that is to consider a second defensive player. But there's no passing tiers or anything like that going to come with these guys. Very, very unusual. Even with good fixtures, very unlikely that Brentford defensive players hit passing numbers or anything. Norgard is not of the value that he was last year. He is back and available now. Could be a cheeky one to consider for a brief little period. But then the beauty with Norgard was always 5 points, 5 points. It's not enough to really justify a second player. Toney's the other one, of course. So if people have got Kepa, I don't want to move that. There's every chance you're going to buy Toney. What you may have seen last night was reports that Ivan Toney has admitted a large number of these 262 charges against him, but he's contesting some of them. There seems to be a held belief and acceptance that obviously he is in for a ban, but we are no closer to knowing when that will be. A few people have misinterpreted something that was put in one of the articles yesterday that said he'll be unavailable for England during the March international break, which led a few people to believe that he'll get the ban will definitely before then. No, I think a little bit like we'd covered going into the World Cup last year, England just won't pick him. So that's not to say he can't get banned before then, but I'd suggest it's probably going to drag on for a little bit longer. So I'll consider going for him.
Okay.
For this little period, actually.
I ended the game. Well, I'm on 64 points at the moment, James, but I have used a couple more transfers than you. But it made sense for me on Saturday to come off the 2 Fulham players that I had, Paulinho and Mitrovic, and I bought Zinchenko and Odegaard, 2 fairly straightforward moves. Zinchenko coming in with a clean sheet, nice. Odegaard didn't return anything, but I'm happy to have him there. And I did buy Thiago Silva, although I captained Harry Kane. So yeah, my returnees were Saliba, Zinchenko, Haaland and Kane as captains, and Rodri with a 4-pointer there wasn't too bad. I've had a couple of. I made a decision that's backfired, and it so easily could have gone the other way. Was the big going into Man City defense, because Bournemouth leaking 1 goal, Aston Villa 2 weeks ago leaking 1 goal, Nottingham Forest leaking 1 goal. So I'm annoyed that City more than my decision. Even though Akanji didn't play all of them, but Ederson did. I could easily be halfway to the top 100 right now, but I made that decision and it didn't work out. So fine, cool. 2 or 3 transfers wasted there. Mitrovic, this niggling injury thing, it just didn't play out. And the idea with Mitrovic was that it'd give me a differential captain on the Friday game if a lot of people were still in with Paulinho. They had Nottingham Forest a couple of weeks ago. So I would have had him for that Forest game as well, which I quite liked, and he didn't return. So Mitrovic ended up being a bit of a fail. And then Thiago Silva. But I don't think any of those were particularly bad decisions. It didn't transpire and didn't work out. And I had a decent transfer count. So, I'm on a bit of a bad run of moves at the moment. I suppose Zinchenko coming in and 9 points is not such a problem. But now is the time that I need to start ditching all of these City players are going to start leaving my team very quickly, and as is Thiago Silva. I think Ederson to Raya for me, it's been on the cards for weeks, so that's pretty straightforward.
I think most people are counting down the hours. Have got
Ederson. Not going to lie. Lewis Dunk, well and truly on the cards for me. I mean, I've got 3 defenders there. I don't have to buy 3 defenders, but I've got a Kanji Ake and Thiago Silva. Lewis Dunk, definitely going to come in for me. I'm thinking about adding Saka tonight to my Arsenal cohort. So I'll end up with 4 Arsenal players if I do that. Mo Salah. I'm not sure what I'm doing with Mo Salah yet right now. Do I go there tonight for the 3 fixtures? Wolves, Man United, Bournemouth. I could come off Haaland or Harry Kane, and I'm not convinced that actually that's going to be the right thing to do. If I don't go to Salah, then I'm actually tempted to maybe just add VVD and just leave him there as a tick along.
Do you feel like you need a Liverpool player?
Not now that they haven't got a fixture in 28, have they?
No. And
definitely
their fixture straight afterwards are Man City away and Chelsea away and Arsenal at home.
No, it's literally the Wolves and Bournemouth games in the next 3 that are like, do I want to cover them off? That's all it is, really.
I'd be totally honest with Liverpool. My take now would be, like, to be honest, if I'm investing tonight, like as a Silva replacement, like Van Dijk's never crossed my mind, Suj.
No, it's not as a Silva replacement. It's add to the.
No. I'm just saying, like, I've not thought about buying them tonight for a moment. I realise I've got less transfers and stuff, but I think that's one. Even with your count, Suj, I won't bother.
Yeah.
I would look at Liverpool.
I'd say I'm very 50.
They've got a good run in. And straight after the difficult Arsenal fixture, which you could enter on, which is Sunday the 9th of April, although it could, in theory, move to Saturday the 8th. But it's very unlikely because of, obviously, Liverpool highly likely to be out of the Champions League. But because of that, the following week, they play Leeds on the Monday night.
Yep.
Monday the 17th. And that's also now extremely unlikely to move. So that's a clear entry point. Ages away, 17th of April, where if they're in better shape, and for their running, they'll be very handy. And go and get a couple then, if you want. So, I mean, they're completely out of my mind.
There's an entry point coming for Newcastle, which is the Wolves game. So Trippier coming back in and maybe add another. So just sometimes when you want to get rid of them from your team, you might just have to hold out to get rid of them for the better opportunity. And I think Newcastle on that day that they play Wolves is a better option.
I would absolutely rather that you waited till Saturday or Monday or next Wednesday and bought Brentford or Brighton. Not next Wednesday, the one after. Brentford or Brighton player than bought Liverpool tonight, player. Honestly. I'm
keen on that. And I mean, look, Marcus Rashford's still sitting there for me. He's not going anywhere till after the Southampton game, if he goes at all. Harry Kane is sitting there for me. He's not going anywhere till after the Nottingham Forest game, if at all. The 2 City players that were likely to stay with me would be Haaland and Rodri. And even then, that would be after the Crystal Palace game. Just because of that Liverpool game, I'll probably come off them, to be honest with you. But I need to be clever now because that week, not the game week 27, that's an FPL game week 27. I want to come off my City players. I want to get into Newcastle. I might want to add a bit of Brighton or Brentford. I could be over my 5 transfer limit. So I might want to get over my 5 transfer limit. So there's some good opportunity between now.
You shouldn't do if you go for the Brentford players Monday the 6th, make your decision on Brentford there, and that cuts you off. And then Sunday the 12th, your focus is probably Newcastle. Wednesday the 15th, if you want to add some Brighton. But remember, Brighton obviously don't play in that weekend now. The urgency to get Brighton's not, now that the fixtures moved from the Thursday to Wednesday, it's not essential.
No, it's not. But I feel like if I go this, like Thiago's not playing, so I don't need an exit point for Thiago. So if I just want to go and get Lewis Dunk, just go on Saturday and get Lewis Dunk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm going to do with Thiago is Lewis Dunk is on Saturday, just get that done. And then add David Raya on the Monday. And Lewis Dunk might be my only Brighton that I potentially go and get. Maybe McAllister, but
it's interesting. My instinct, once I'd thought about Thiago Silva's injury, was exactly that. My instinct was exactly what I'd said. Oh, if there's an opening for Lewis Dunk, because the entry isn't great prior to the fixture against Palace, then I'll go and get. But looking at it, I'm probably not going to captain him. I don't think. I suppose if I had him for Palace, I would probably captain him over a Brentford player. Even though Raya goes to Southampton. I think Lewis Dunk starts on 5 against Palace, doesn't he? Looking at the numbers very recently. So he probably would be the outstanding one for me on that night if I owned. But I don't need it as such. And I think I'm probably more likely just to add Gabriel tonight. Same sort of price. Then I'm treble Arsenal defence. They've still got 5 good fixtures. There's a clear exit point to come off Sunday the 2nd or the midweek games afterwards, or hold even would probably be very, very useful for the majority of players if they have the Southampton fixture on Friday the 21st or Sunday the 23rd. It could move to Sunday the 23rd, subject to Arsenal's Europa involvement. Could also obviously be postponed if Southampton get to the FA Cup semi-finals. So, yeah, I'm going to give that a little bit thought. It's probably between either of them. I think the right choice is probably to buy Gabriel now. My consciousness is, if I come off Sunday the 2nd, is there enough in the forthcoming days afterwards that I actually want to invest in to actually get rid of the Arsenal player? Because I'll be on 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be on treble defensive, and I've got Odegaard and Saka as well. Is there enough in that following week where I think, because I probably want to leave myself probably 1 or 2 from there on, like Saliba would just be kind of a dead. Yeah. And arguably I'd maybe want to keep Saka. The rest could probably go because it does walk into tough fixtures. So I just need to consider that. City, if I'd kind of determined that Dunk's someone I'd want to get to anyway, it might be that I decide, yeah, maybe I should just wait for Saturday. But I could Dunk's one, I'd get Tuesday the 4th, for example. But then they've got, from that point, this is interesting with Brighton. From that point, they go to Tottenham the following weekend, Chelsea the following weekend. And we think the Newcastle fixture probably gets dumped in there, is the most likely currently. That could change depending on cup results tonight. But then it's Tottenham away, Chelsea away, Newcastle away. It's not, and then possibly another blank if they're in the FA Cup semi-final, or obviously Manchester City are in the FA Cup semi-final. So, yeah, it's a little bit more awkward than it kind of looks with Brighton.
It's interesting. You're saying Tuesday the 4th is an entry point, maybe if you wanted to wait that long. You're missing quite a few fixtures there, which is West Ham, Palace at home,
Leeds
away,
and
Leeds
Brentford
away. Yeah, Brentford's a home game. It's going to be tougher, but Leeds and Bournemouth away, they could do something.
He's 20 points. Man United, he's 20 points in those games without a clean sheet, I'd say.
Man United play Brentford at home on the Wednesday after, so that's an exit point if I wanted to go to Martinez or something like that. And Newcastle play West Ham away, so I've got 2 exit points to 2 good teams there. I like United because then they have Everton at home and Forest away straight after. So daisy chaining that onto whoever from Manchester United for 3 games, and we don't know yet about the FA Cup quarter-final weekend, or is it semi-final weekend, and so on yet. I think my personal opinion is if you're going to wait as long as Tuesday the 4th, that's a long wait, and you're going to miss some good fixtures in between there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's probably... The thing is, there'll be other people in that similar position. I wonder if maybe I should take advantage of that, reflecting on it more. The other people thinking, oh, I can't really buy till Wednesday the 15th. I haven't got the justification. So it does give me the additional captaincy Wednesday 15th. It's probably the play. Which was my initial instinct. When I thought about it more, I thought, well, the entry point in terms of fixture count is just go and get another Arsenal tonight. And as I said, never considered another Liverpool. So do I need Gabriel? No. It'd be nice to get the extra in there and have it treble defensive. But I think getting rid of them might be quite tough. And I've got to be more conscious of that in my transfer account. Whereas I think with Dunk, once he goes in, he'll stay in as well. So, yeah. Perhaps it's a common, what's right for me isn't necessarily right for you, to be honest. Because I think in your case, Serge, I'd arguably go Gabriel now.
I'm going to go tonight, Gabriel and Saka, possibly, if I don't go to
a different Arsenal player, subject to what you've got.
Well, I've got Saliba and Zinchenko, so
yeah.
The only other thing I would chuck out in terms of future potential transfer plans in my mind is around Marcus Rashford. So they've got the Southampton game on the Sunday at home. He's very likely to be a potential captain on that day for me. I mean, Arsenal away at Fulham, which is also decent, but home tie against a team that are bottom of the table, you can't look past that. Chelsea play on the following Saturday, Everton at home. United don't have a fixture that weekend. So I'm thinking maybe Rashford to Enzo Fernandez gives me Everton at home, Villa at home, Liverpool at home with Enzo, including the captaincy for Everton at home. And then I can jump off back to Rashford if I want him for the Brentford game. All I miss is Newcastle away, who have the best defensive record in the league. So I'm also thinking that I'll come off Rashford after Southampton. And because of the lack of Chelsea coverage now, Enzo's the one that I would probably go. So I think his ownership is creeping up very quickly.
Yeah, will do. I think it was the one we kind of discussed as the alternative to Silva last week. And I know a lot would have gone with Enzo Fernandez. Was it like 100 passes again at the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So like he's
7.7 is a great price for him.
He's looking great for the value. 7,865.
7,865. What points? That's just tick along.
He's basically
as good as
in
Rodri.
roundabouts.
Got better.
Yeah, he's steady so far. Small sample.
Yeah. I get it.
Rodri, we know the consistency there. Remember, he got taken off like 60 odd minutes at the weekend. He'd have been looking at 100 odd passes again, probably. He's another one to consider. Like, because there'll be people, I think the natural instinct as well. He was the other player as well, a dunk. I thought of instinctively because I thought, well, I want a Chelsea player for Saturday the 18th.
Yeah.
It's the Brentford Leicester game now being on that day means there's obviously less of a requirement. And there's also a case to perhaps consider a Villa player Sunday the 12th away to West Ham and go sort of Ollie Watkins, Bournemouth at home as captaincy on Saturday the 18th. Another alternative. We've got Chelsea, Leicester, Forest. We've got some extra fixtures afterwards as well. We're carrying a Villa player at the moment. Might be quite a nice differential, actually. They definitely play in match week 32 away to Brentford. Then they're going to play on the Tuesday night, almost definitely, at home to Fulham. And then you can move on there to other teams that are going to have additional fixtures to follow in midweek because of rearranged games and stuff. So that's a move I'm considering is probably Ollie Watkins, Sunday 12th, although I do think Emi Buendia could be, as mentioned last time we spoke about Villa assets, really a cheeky little differential. Scored a lovely goal off the bench at the weekend. I know he did people good when they had that Friday night game against Leeds. I want to say back at the start of January, roughly. So Enzo, though, yeah. I mean, I could just do that, go Enzo at the weekend. But yeah, I just want a bit more power, to be honest. Like, he's a brilliant one to tick over. At my position, oh, great, get Enzo Fernandez 5 points every week. I'm not really looking for that at the moment. I'm looking for Lewis Dunk storming like 17-pointer at night. Captaincy against Palace, for example. It's more that I'm probably looking for. Maybe your transfer counter stuff. Just keep ticking, chipping. Yeah, possibly a little bit more interest. And that said, he's the sort of player I think you can put in a little bit like Rodri and just leave him in. So, yeah, I think if people want a replacement Chelsea player or just want a Chelsea player, then, yeah, fine. He's probably the go-to at the moment. It's just too confusing on the others. On the defensive guys, like I've been warming about Badiashile for a while, 8.5, but I was pretty staggered that he wasn't in the team against Tottenham. And what would make you more nervous about it was when Silva went down injured, didn't bring him on, and brought Fofana on.
I was surprised about that as well.
So, I mean, Wesley Fofana is a good player, and that's primarily why we've been warning. But very interestingly, on Wesley Fofana, he was a player we identified when the transfer was made, was like, oh my God, got to have him. He's 7.5. So perhaps keeping your powder dry, if Fofana looks like he's going to get a proper run and then you land on the Everton game, might be a better thing to consider for Chelsea currently. Because if you thought he was going to play every week, they're not disastrous defensively, right?
No.
He's in the back of my mind already quite quickly. But I wouldn't buy Wesley Fofana this week, especially when you ain't seen the team and stuff. They've got Champions League next midweek. But if it becomes first choice, obviously they've got no other cup commitments. So if it became Silva and Fofana as the season went on, yeah, we'd all be pretty interested in Wesley Fofana at 7.5, I think.
These fixtures, James, why don't you give everybody a kind of overview? What do we know? What do we know that we didn't know yesterday? And what do we need to keep our eyes on in the next couple of days, mate?
It's not a huge deal, just in case you missed it previously. Obviously, Manchester United's fixture with Southampton has confirmed has moved to Sunday the 12th of March with a 2 p.m. kickoff. So you'll see the team lineups as well. That potentially does have an impact on who you may have been thinking of captain Saturday the 11th, because I think it's fair to say Rashford's got the outstanding fixture that day. You do have Haaland and Kane to fall back on, subject to what you've got. Palace away for Haaland, Nottingham Forest at home for Tottenham. Either or.
I'm going to go Kane, I think. They're just not that good away, Forest.
No, I know. I'm very conscious of that. So it could
Kane
be
for me for that one.
It could be the sort of one where we say pick your battles. It could be one where you can pick the battle. Yeah, exactly that. The following weekend's the FA Cup quarter-final weekend. So we knew we had Nottingham Forest, Newcastle the Friday night. We now have a confirmed single game week. The fixture was always there, but it's now a confirmed single game week fixture again for Arsenal. Home to Crystal Palace, Sunday the 19th. That's confirmed. That won't move. There won't be another Premier League fixture that day. We now have 4 fixtures, Saturday the 18th. And a really interesting one from Captaincy. Villa against Bournemouth, Brentford against Leicester, Chelsea against Everton, Wolves versus Leeds. I think we can probably remove Wolves versus Leeds from the captaincy debate for that day. But you could make a case for Villa against Chelsea. It's subject to what you've got, right? The entry point for Villa, I think, is pretty clear, as in the previous Sunday the 12th. Chelsea, I think you can enter on the day. It's worth saying they're the 5:30 kickoff that day. You will see the team lineups of the other games. It's no 12:30. So you'll see the 3 p.m. kickoff times. And it could just be that I go, well, I've got Raya now, or people have got Toney, and you go through with them. Either of them, obviously, very viable options as well. So might be a nice little split on that day. I think, given most Sky managers' preference for the tiers and stuff, Chelsea will be favoured. If you have a Chelsea defensive or Enzo, it's good enough for Everton. I mean, certainly he starts on 5 points against Everton, Enzo Fernandez, for example. It's more of a guarantee than Ollie Watkins hitting the woodwork 3 times. But he's in good form, isn't he? 5 in a row, Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, he's definitely a consideration. What price is he? He's 9 point something, is he?
It's reasonable. It's not beyond gettable. 9 million exactly.
Yeah, it's not a bad price.
The only thing extra additionally right now, further in the future, which won't affect anyone, I shouldn't imagine, Leicester Wolves Saturday the 22nd of April is a confirmed fixture for that day now, following Leicester's defeat last night. The shit will become clearer after tonight. And the cup draw, for any of you playing FPL, I do recommend the Chip Strategy podcast. Tomorrow we'll cover off some date stuff. And probably the one influencing thing for further ahead is obviously Leicester's defeat now means less of a requirement to want to go and buy their assets in the future. They do still have that Monday the 1st fixture against Everton, but you could make a valid case now just to say, I'll buy then. Alternatively, you got Tuesday the 4th, where there'll be a gain on certain teams, and do have a decent run of fixtures there. Villa, Bournemouth, City away, Wolves, Leeds. Those that are named 1st, 2nd and 4th are all home games. So Saturday the 18th, you could make the case to go in as well, actually. If there's a few you can make the case to get on Saturday the 18th. I think Chelsea's one. I think Leicester is another.
Yeah, it's a bit far away.
You could Saturday the 18th of March, talking about like when Leicester play Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
You could make the case to buy Leicester that day because the previous 2 entry points are not there. They play on a Saturday. Whereas on that Saturday, because there's others that don't play, you could make the case.
That's one for me, like, because on paper, looking at it, I mean, they've got a lot of fixtures in that time period, and you get the captaincy that you mentioned there. So how many games? 1, 2, 3,
it's
4,
a long
5,
way
6,
ahead
7,
of that captaincy.
8 games. It's one that on paper I like, but eye test wise, I'm like, what do I really want?
But Maddison's the sort of one who...
He's the only one I would get. And you think he'll play all 8 of those games?
No.
He's going to come down with an injury or something, isn't he?
He's in 1.3% of the top 1,000 at the moment. So, I mean, he's super differential. And obviously, you've got Kelechi as well. Kelechi is 7.6 up front. Iheanacho. But I think if you were buying with the principal idea of the Everton game Monday first and going, oh, this game's massive over this period, you'd arguably make a case to get two because one of them's going to fucking shaft you. Probably bet your life on that. Where Rodgers decides, oh, actually, I'm going to put Daka or Vardy back in the team. Or Maddison, we know he's been carrying a problem for months. But then look at them again without him last night. We obviously spoke about Leicester's numbers with and without him on Monday. And again, without him last night. Shite.
This weekend, James, we had obviously 8 games so far that have been played. Anything that stood out from a tier point of view? And then we can get into some of the questions that you've been so kind to send in on Twitter, listeners.
Yeah. Have a shout out to ffstuff.co.uk. We're gonna nick some stuff from him here. Whoever bought on Friday night, Fulham v Wolves, probably missed. Quite essentially, 1-1's like that. Those who skipped are probably pretty delighted. The only player to hit passing tier was Fulham's Tim Ream. I thought Wolves played really well first half, but then didn't do enough once Fulham equalised. No passing tiers in the Everton Villa game. 4 shots on target for Watkins.
Okay.
6 tackles for Matty Cash. Also, Idrissa Gueye had a decent number of tackles. Koch and McKennie just in the passing for Leeds against Southampton. Interestingly,
nothing for Southampton.
Diallo 5 tackles as a 63rd minute sub, but he's not going to play regularly. Leicester Arsenal, not much to speak of. Passing tiers for Zinchenko, Saliba, Jorginho, all in the 60 numbers. Ben White 59. They did amend White and Zinchenko's points, I think I want to say either on Sunday night or Monday, where they had them wrong. They'd give pass tier to White, not Zinchenko, and they've swapped that round. I've probably upset some Ben White owners now who didn't realise that. Danny Ings at shots here for West Ham against Forest. Do you think he's staying in the team, Suj?
Oh, yeah. And he's cup tied in the...
That helps, yeah.
Against Man United today. He can play in the Europa Conference League, obviously, because we haven't been in that. But he is cup tied tonight. So I think he will. Villa at home on a Sunday, potential entry point, but then we blank in 28. So more likely Southampton at home.
If you wanted to go in, yeah. But then after that, you've got Newcastle, Fulham away, Arsenal at home.
Yeah,
and if
Newcastle,
you were
Arsenal
still in the cup,
games.
another blank.
Yeah, it's not one for me at the moment, unless something changes and it's a real punt.
Tackle tier for Nico Williams. You'll be delighted to hear, Suj.
I feel
like we haven't spoke about Forest assets for quite some time, and I guess that's perfectly understandable. There is a little gain, though, if there's something there that you wanted to punt as a differential, where you could go in Sunday, Everton at home, and you could make the case, because Liverpool United play each other, of a captaincy. You could make the case if you wanted to take a punt on Brennan Johnson, for example, 7.2 midfielder, or Morgan Gibbs-White is 6.6. Like, if you're looking for an enabler, you need to shift the money about. It might be that Forest works for you. We obviously all owned Nico Williams for that period. I say all, we didn't all. A lot of us owned Nico Williams for that period earlier in the season. No one's going to go back to that. And Serge Aurier could be back as early as not this weekend, but the following weekend. Kayla Navas is playing in goal at the moment, 6.4. But I presume if anyone wants to buy a goalkeeper on Sunday, they're going to wait for Monday. But I think Gibbs, White and Johnson are potentially a couple of interesting ones that may enable for a little while. It's obviously, there's difficult fixtures afterwards. Tottenham away, got Newcastle at home to Friday night, might give you secondary captaincy cover if you just have Trippier, for example. Then there's Wolves at home, Leeds away. Then you can escape to a couple of teams, or you take in Villa away and escape as well. I'm not recommending anyone goes and buys Forest players, but Gibbs White might be one where maybe you've moved on Paulinia, and you're, because obviously for those who missed it, you got the 10th yellow on Friday night, and misses the games against Brentford and Arsenal. So Paulinia doesn't have a fixture now till April Fool's Day, which is a joke in itself. But Gibbs White could be one that enables another move for you. And I'd consider that maybe at similar sort of price to Paulinia. Right. City, 119 passes for Diaz, 93 for Akanji. Rodri, 65 passes in 55 minutes before taking off. So he was heading towards 100 as well. 69 for Rico Lewis. Julian Alvarez with 2 shots on target, only the one for Haaland, the goal. Passing tiers for Liverpool at Palace for Van Dijk, Matip, and Jordan Henderson. Chelsea, we mentioned this on Monday's podcast. So Enzo Fernandez, 103 passes. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 28.
20, yeah.
It's absolutely bizarre. If you watch the game back, the amount of times Chelsea played through the left and Enzo played to the left of Ruben Loftus-Cheek was strange. Reece James, Koulibaly, Chilwell, all in the passing tiers. There is a case to say that if you want replacement Chelsea, we've not mentioned Chilwell or James. If I had to pump one right now and you wanted to get the player for offensive reasons, I'd go for Chilwell. Because when Ziyech plays, James is not playing like what you want Reece James to play at the moment. He's playing like a right-sided centre-back. Whereas they lopside and Chilwell pushes higher. The other caveat I'd say to that is that I think Sterling's possibly not good for Chilwell. Because Sterling really hugs the touchline as well. Whereas if you had someone out there who wants to come off the flank, like a Mudryk or a Mount more, that might help Chilwell a little bit more. Højbjerg in passes again, 62. He's ticking over nicely. Some decent tackle numbers for Romero, Emerson, and Richarlison. Romero's played really well last couple of games. He's a player, I think, at the start of the season, we all thought we'd own, 7.8. To be honest, though, the entry point for Tottenham isn't really now till the Monday, the 3rd game against April. There is a case, certainly, to sell Harry Kane after the Forest game on the 11th of March. It could even be one such that I'm going to have those 3 Watkins games and go back. Might be one to consider. And that's a brief little roundup of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm not. I tell you why I'm not likely to sell Kane after the Forest game is because I want to captain him against Everton. And so what am I? I'm going to want to get him back for that single game day, which is Monday the 3rd, right?
Are you short transfers, mate?
No, but there's better gains to be had than moving Kane on.
If you go Kane to Watkins, for example, like if you make the decision to go Lewis Dunk, right, you're without Chelsea. So you're relying on Raya then for Saturday the 18th against Everton. Yeah, if you buy Watkins...
No, but I might go into Chelsea on the 18th as well.
I get that. That's fine. Yeah. But if you decide not to, you go into Watkins Sunday the 12th. He's going to give you a better captaincy than Raya, I think. Bournemouth at home is the sort of one you never know your luck, mate. Listen, it'd probably be a 2-pointer. We know what he's like, right? But he's in form at the moment. Who knows? Maybe there'll be Hall. The one good thing with Ollie Watkins is he's not shy in front of goal. So the shot tiers is always something that's attracted us to him under this format. So you'd have, with the Bournemouth fixture in there as a captaincy, effective 4-for-0. And I think if I landed on Saturday the 18th at the moment, bearing in mind I can't see the Chelsea team, I think I'd want to captain it. Ollie Watkins would be my take at the moment. So I'd be very interested in that potential move. Effective 4-for-0. Doesn't have to be Watkins you go back from, right? Because afterwards, they've still got Leicester away, Forest at home. There's a couple more good fixtures. Move a different player back to Kane, right? If that's what you want to do. It's not saying you have to do that sort of move. For me, with my transfer count, I might just go, I know I'm going back to Harry. It's definitely 2 transfers for me. But it might be identified moving something else on after the Saturday, the 1st games, for example. So, yeah, Ollie Watkins under consideration for me. You obviously just got to check yourself with your formations and stuff, obviously.
And budget as well, because, Harry Kane's a lot of money. Let's get into some of the questions that we've had in on Twitter then, shall we, James?
Let's do it.
I haven't read them yet, so there's every chance that we will have answered some of these. Astash, this is a very quick one for you to answer, James. Is Wildcard 26 essential? Wrong podcast. But
do you know what?
Astash, tune in tomorrow because it's chip strategy.
I don't understand how people read the tweet.
They don't read the tweet. They don't read the tweet.
But
they just see that you've tweeted.
Crop the fucking logo in the image every week. And do you know what? Last night, I even thought of putting, I'm going to need to put this as a Sky Fantasy Football. And do you know what I thought to myself?
Fantasy Football podcast.
I thought, even if I put that, I bet someone still does it. I'm not surprised at all. People just want what they want. They don't actually read things. Do you know what? These people are not worth helping. I mean that genuinely seriously, because if you can't even read in the first place, how am I to know you're even going to read my response?
That's true. Shadebi says, is Toney viable to buy on Monday? And we've talked about
absolutely.
It. It's very, very viable. Yes, is straightforward as that.
Absolutely.
Know the risk, but the risk is only that he gets banned, and obviously injury and stuff like that. But that's unpredictable.
I think in terms of the betting ban, I think over this period of, let's say, the 5 fixtures up to April the 1st, I think you'll probably be okay. The 8 yellow cards is probably the immediate concern. So what I would say is that's got to go up to 32nd game. So over that period, he's got 8 games to navigate. He's got 8 games to navigate before he gets to the Villa game on the 22nd of April. So there's every chance to be looking at a ban. So I think if you go in for Toney, you want a clear indication of what your move to come off is. That's all. And you need to realise that at kind of any point he dips out. What do you do, for example, in the unlikely scenario? Let's say you buy him Monday, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do, and he does get booked against Fulham and Everton, and he misses the Southampton-Leicester game. What do you do? What's your plan? So I would be consciously thinking in my mind, if I go Toney, right, if I lose him here, when does he go? If I lose him here, who does he go to? And I'd probably be looking at an exit Saturday the 1st, if he survives that long.
Dirk Digger says, is it time to get rid of Salah and Haaland? Well, not today for Salah, obviously.
No, it's after the Bournemouth game, Saturday 11th. If you've got, it's after Saturday the 11th against Bournemouth.
And Haaland, after Crystal Palace, you could make the case to just move on. It's only one fixture in there.
Same
Liverpool.
date, potentially. I suspect that's an FPL question.
Nah, honestly. I think it's a Sky question.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. FPL Fool says, will the world be a better place once Suj buys back his beloved David Raya? And is his actual surname Martin? Well, yes. The answer is yes. Yes.
Is there any doubt for you?
0. Ederson can
yeah,
go.
He can.
Yeah. There's no doubt for me. But FPL Fool's actually question: do you have any Brentford defensive or midfield assets that have punt-worthy tier possibilities to add? James shaking his head.
No, it's only really Norgard.
Or Toney, obviously, not for tiers, but for points.
Defensive or midfielder, didn't he?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, he did say that. You're right.
I mean, Ben Mee's on 101 points, right? He's the highest scoring defender in FPL, other than, I think, Arsenal, Newcastle players, isn't he? Whereas under this format, you've got other players like, I mean, Eric Dyer's on 111.
Wow.
So that's accumulation of, he's got the odd passing tiers going. It's not like Eric Dyer's hitting passing tier every week, right? Tim Ream, Fulham gets the odd passing tier. He's got more points in this format than Ben Mee. So there isn't, I'm afraid, the Brentford guys are just not going to hit that. If you said to me, right, James, a Brentford player is going to get hit a tier on Monday, who would I say is the most likely?
Raya for save tier.
Yeah, it is, because he hits it nearly every week. And then after that, the honest answer would be Toney. And then if I had to answer after that, in all honesty, it'd be Mbumo. Would be the next one. He is a midfielder. He's 7.7. So from a passing tier, no. If it fits you a problem in the midfield area, but I feel like we've had years in Sky Suj where the midfield area has been a graveyard, but with the likes of Saka and Salah, Rashford kind of all reclassified to that this year, it shouldn't really be a problem. I think under the old format, we'd have been looking at this week, if it was this time last year, and going, I'm very tempted by Mbumo, but it doesn't feel necessary right now.
FPL Fool also says, good luck and thank you to you both. Well, his
cheers, thanks to you too.
Twitter handle is United Fan. So good luck from tomorrow, but appreciate the thoughts, because I don't want him to have good luck today.
He might be a Sheffield United fan. So
no, he's in the in his profile photo. That's a Wales jersey.
So now you don't know, do you?
No, I don't know, but it definitely looks like a Man United fan. Maybe I'm wrong.
Why? Is it the look of his face or something?
No, tweets. Dan says, with Liverpool now not having a fixture versus Fulham, is Rodri to Salah for Wolves home not as appealing? I imagine he'll be highly captain option even though Arsenal play. Of course he will be. I mean, you kind of talked me out of bothering to go to Salah today, because if they don't play, in 28, then is it even worth it? Just let it go.
I mean, I think that we haven't actually done captaincy. Are you captain tonight?
Saka.
Yeah,
Saka,
same.
I think. Yeah.
Same. That's
I've got to
the
buy
one
him.
with the
Don't get me
potential.
wrong. But Saka.
It's a better fixture for Arsenal. If you watched the game Friday night as well, I think you'd have been quite impressed with what you saw from Wolves. And they've given Liverpool 3 tough games already this calendar year. So you've got some historical background on it. Do I think Liverpool win tonight? Yeah. But if one of them was to go big, it'd be Arsenal, I would imagine. So, yeah, Saka for me this evening. The only caveat to that a little bit is they could get themselves in a position where they rest people quite early because they play Bournemouth on Saturday. But if they've got themselves in that position, it's probably because the boys have already done damage, right? So it'll be Saka for me tonight. What are you going with Saturday?
Saka.
That one's close, I think.
But it's one that you can take on Haaland for.
It is, but I'm
pick
very
your battles. Bournemouth at home.
Yeah, I'm very reluctant to do it and games at the Etihad, plus that short turnaround for Arsenal, as I just mentioned.
Okay.
So I will probably still go Haaland Saturday, I think.
On the Sunday, I only own Rashford, so I haven't got
Same.
a choice here, and I'm not likely to buy a Liverpool player, so we'll go Rashford.
Same. Rashford for me. What would you do if you got injured tonight?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, because I've got that Southampton home game earmarked for his captaincy as well.
I'd buy a Forest player. Honestly, I would punt Gibbs White or Johnson for that period, as I said.
Yeah. We'll cross that. I don't want to think about it as a possibility.
If you did that, and you go, oh, shit. So say if Rashford had an injury, was out for 3 weeks, and was going to miss the Southampton game as well, you'd look at that. So Johnson, for example, or Gibbs White would have a 5-1 over Rashford before he plays Brentford at home on Wednesday the 5th. Add a captaincy 6-1. The only thing with that is you'd miss the fixture against Manchester United on Sunday the 2nd, but you could make the same move at that point instead. And you probably would, in fairness. So look, if Rashford had an injury for like 1 or 2 weeks, I wouldn't skip it. I'd be looking at going, there's a 5-0 there.
Yep.
I'd make the move. And because you're going straight into a captaincy at home to Everton, yeah, I'd punt it.
FPL Fish says, is going to VVD worth it, or is it too much money in defence? Would be my only Liverpool cover, brackets, if I even need it. And it would be from Paulinho. If not, who would be the next best player to go to from Paulinho? Currently in a 3-5-2 formation.
Honestly, I would much rather you bought an Arsenal player than a Liverpool player.
We don't know how much money he's got in the bank. That's the only thing. But if he's able to afford VVD,
if he's afford Van Dijk, he could have any Arsenal player.
He can afford any Arsenal player.
Exactly that. So. Look at the fixtures as well. We often talk about volume, but actually look at the fixtures. So I think for Van Dijk, right, we could look at Wolves tonight, and in all likelihood, if they keep a clean sheet, there's every chance of passing tier. I promise you, it's not guaranteed tonight, by the way. Manchester United at home is probably a no at the moment. But if United got an early lead, but then you ain't hitting the 10-pointers, then yes. Bournemouth away, as kind of same with City last week, yeah, it probably is there. But look at those 4 home games for Arsenal. Everton, Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds. You're probably hitting passing tier. There's every chance the Arsenal defensive guys are hit passing tier in all of them. And there's every chance Fulham away as well. Fulham, Paulini is suspended.
Yeah. Last question of the show, James, goes to Ian Parrin. With all the upcoming fixture postponements and rearranged game projections, is March and April in Sky becoming the equivalent of moving day in golf majors? How much does it benefit the planners compared to everyone else? Will the tortoises start making ground on the hares? This next March, yes, basically, in answer to Ian's question, this is it. Like, it depends on your transfer count, but I look at it and I'm like, there's some real opportunities, not just opportunities, but I think there's teams that aren't attractive that you would want maybe 2 or 3 of. There are different teams like Brentford. If you said to me there's going to be a period in Sky where you're going to own 3 or 4 Brentford or 2 or 3 Brentford,
I wouldn't do that, despite how good it looks for them.
Yeah, but this is the period where going into a few or a couple from one from Brighton, one from Brentford, maybe sprinkle in one from Leicester if you decide that that's what you're going for. We're moving away from template a little bit in March and April, or you can.
Look, for those who have got good transfer count and are looking to chase a little bit, there are players here over this period. We've mentioned a few, the likes of Johnson, Watkins. You can turn your nose up at these people, but they're punty. There are big gains with some of these players coming up, and most ain't going to go there, I think. It could well be a good movement for Ollie Watkins. I haven't kind of sourced what the feeling is amongst the Sky community. Not many will go for a Forest player, and I'm not necessarily advising it. Can you punt it? Yeah. I mean, the big gains are right now. Right now. What you got to remember is as well, for the games that are postponed in the weekend of the end of April for the next blank, those teams are almost definitely going to have an additional fixture like 15, 16, 17 days later. So it swings back again very quickly. This one doesn't feel that way. Remember, the rearranged games that have been arranged for early April are because of the Queen's passing, right? It's nothing to do with FA Cup or anything like that. So you've got teams who've got extra fixture and extra fixture. So the bulk of it for many is coming right now. You look at them things like Kane to Watkins 4 for 0. If you're sitting there with 30 transfers, I don't know how you don't consider that sort of move, bearing in mind there's a probable captaincy in there as well. So, yeah, I think it's coming now. I wish I was in the luxury where I had your transfers, Suj. Absolutely. I've got to pick my battles. Like talking about Forest, for example, is a perfect case, right? I said I'd punt them if Rashford was injured. But I'm only punt them if Rashford's injured. Otherwise, I've got no interest. It wouldn't make logical sense for me because there's every chance I'm going to want to move it on. If I was sitting there with 30 transfers, I'd look at that and go 5 for 0 now. Gone, done. Wouldn't even think twice about it. The only question would be, is it Johnson or Gibbs White? I'd just get it done. I wouldn't at that point be buying a Liverpool player. No interest. And it wouldn't particularly make sense to buy a Manchester United player either. And Everton, no. I know a few have probably gone there. I mean, after Forest itself, I realised they've got an extra fixture against Chelsea and stuff, but then fixtures for them are absolutely dirty. They're in trouble. That's off topic. So I think now, also, just while Ian's mentioning mumps, many of us will have been following Ian's attempts to try and win the February Manager of the Month. And he very nearly did it. He was top a couple of times during the month. I think so. Brilliant effort. And it was really nice following his journey. I was 15th at one point, so I was there or thereabouts giving it a go with the third team. But I realised at the weekend that I couldn't do it. So I held back a few transfers, and I know that Ian said that he's going to try again in April. So I'm trying now because he's doing April. So I'm going to have another bash at March. I don't know where I finished in the end, but I know on Sunday morning I was 32nd, but I knew I couldn't win it. It was too much.
Cool. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Today is the first of the month, which means if you want to support the show, it's a good time to do it. You can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. If you're wondering how, it's quite straightforward and easy for James and I to look at gaps between fixtures and what have you. Simple. James produces a really helpful planner that's Excel based, that's available to all patrons on our Slack channel as well. And so if you're a keen Sky player, it's really worth thinking about. Not only that, the group of guys that play Sky and are on Slack are really helpful, and it's a really nice community to get engaged with. So we'd love to have you over there. Head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL to just check that out. Other than that, stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now, and enjoy Sheffield, James.
I shall United. Try, Suj. Enjoy, I was going to say the Trafford Centre, but you don't travel, do you? So
nope.
Enjoy ITV or whatever the game's on tonight. Have a great week, everyone. Cue music, please, man. Shop.